Good morning. Recently I've been reading a fascinating book. It's entitled Through the Glass Ceiling to the Stars. And it's the story of the first American woman to command a space mission. Her name is Eileen Collins. And she's had an amazing career. She was the first female test pilot in the Air Force's history. She became the first woman ever to pilot a space shuttle. And then she became the first woman to be a commander of a space mission. An incredible career. And what's really interesting is you look back at how she was growing up. She grew up in a very unassuming family in Elmira, New York. It turned out that her father started drinking way too much and had a real problem with alcohol. She had her mom and father separate, though they never technically got divorced. Her father still loved her. He just struggled with alcohol. There were several children. He did the best he could, and he had some money to give to them, and he kept them in Catholic school. He felt that was important. He wanted them to establish their values and their faith. And Eileen is a real lady of faith, and her faith has sustained her throughout this entire career. Her mom struggled as a single mom. For a while they went on food stamps, and then she basically had a nervous breakdown. Growing up, Eileen was a rather average or below average student. There was nothing exceptional about her. She just kind of fumbled through school, just kind of making it by, especially with all the struggles that she had in her family. Sometimes life is hard. And for so many children, maybe for you, you can have a childhood that you look back on that was full of struggles. It really was for her. It wasn't until she graduated high school that she went and was on her first commercial airline flight. And when she was, and she looked out the window, something stirred in her soul. She had a job, and while she was going to a community college, but she started working really hard, and she earned $1,000, enough money to go down and get a private pilot's license. She wanted to fly. Something stirred in her life, and she knew that's what she wanted to be, was a pilot. Never before in her life had she had such vision and commitment and focus to something. She wanted to fly. She was going to become a pilot. But money was so tight, and life was so hard, that what she did is made a decision that she was going to go down and she was going to join the Air Force. She called a recruiter and she made an appointment. He was going to meet her there at the office at 4 o'clock the next day. She really was praying about it. This was such a big deal. And the next day she went to her appointment and the recruiter never showed up. She waited around. The office was locked. No one was there. She waited and waited. And she became so discouraged, and she thought, they don't want to talk to me because there's no such thing as women pilots there in the Air Force. And at that time, there was not. She thought they don't want me because I'm a girl. So she went home. She decided to forget all about the Air Force. She went on to college. She decided to go to Syracuse. Of all things, after she got through with the junior college, she went to Syracuse, and there she realized she could join the ROTC. There she got a scholarship help. Now she would graduate from ROTC there at Syracuse, and she would actually be able to go into the Air Force as an officer. What she hadn't realized was the day that recruiting officer didn't show up was one of the best days in her life. Looking back, she said, I didn't realize as an enlisted person I would never become a pilot. You have to be an officer to become a pilot. Had that recruiter showed up and she had gotten pulled in, good chances that she would have never gotten her college degree. She never could have become a pilot. The fact that he didn't show up and she then went on to college, learned about ROTC, her dream of becoming a pilot would ultimately come true. I call that prevenient grace. It's the idea that God's grace goes before us. God's grace is working in our lives even when we do not see nor understand it, maybe until we look back later upon it. It's called living in faith, trusting and God's constant love of us, his children. Eileen has done that through her life, and there are so many stories I'm going to be sharing with you in some Coffee with Bob's as well as in sermons. But she's a lady who's learned to believe. You give your best. And maybe things work out the way you hope in the moment. Maybe they don't. You just learn to stay calm, stay focused, trust in God's love for you, and she believes things will work out. It's a nice way to go about living life. I hope you have a great day.